What's up, guys, and welcome to the first ever episode of this brand new MLB the Show 20 series. But it's not MLB anymore. Welcome to this brand new baseball league, Ultimate League Baseball. That's right, the ULB coming to you guys live. And what we have here are 30 rebranded teams and a fantasy draft to decide which former MLB players will be joining these 30 brand new franchises. So as you see here, we've got the list, we've got every team selected, and we're going to scroll through them quickly. We have in the AL East, the Boston Goats, the Brooklyn Jefes, the Miami Tropics, the Montreal Royals, and the Virginia City Vigilantes. Then in the AL Central, we have the Akron Bolts, the Chicago Irish, the Indiana Spartans, the Pittsburgh Paladins, and the Texas Outlaws, the only Texas franchise in this league, back to the Central Division as opposed to the Rangers and Astros in the real AL West. Not the real, the MLB's version of the AL West. For our AL West, we're working with the Arizona Kingsnakes, the first of two snake teams in this league. You'll see the second one later. The Coronado Thunderbirds, the Denver Magic, the Las Vegas Gamblers, and the Portland Sasquatch, or just the Squatch. Now over to the National League, the Annapolis Sailors, the Carolina Wildcats, the Jacksonville Palms, New Orleans Crusaders, and Washington Eagles. Now the NL Central has the Erie Dragons, Milwaukee Meerkats, the Nashville Blue Jeans, a fan favorite, I believe, the North Dakota Nightmare, and the St. Louis Archers. Now finally, the Alaska Polar Bears lead off the NL West teams, followed by the Albuquerque Mariachis. There's a tongue twister for you. The Death Valley Vipers, there's your National League snake team. So let's see. I wonder if the Kingsnakes and Vipers will ever face off in the World Series, but we're a ways away from that. The Hawaii Splash and the Vancouver Aeros are the final team. So we've got our 30 teams listed right here, and we are ready for the first ever draft. So I will clarify first and foremost that I did not create the logos for any of these 30 teams. All of them are created by users online that uploaded to the vault, so thank you to all of them. Maybe if I remember, I'll put the different usernames and PSNs of each creator in the description. I'm sure I'll get to that at some point because they all do deserve a lot of credit. I was just taking these logos, edited some colors, but was able to throw some cool jersey sets together. And it's been a lot of work over these past couple days putting this together and having this idea, but due to the current times and situation, I had a lot more time on my hands. But I'm really excited to see what happens here. And also, I do want to pick one team to control. But the issue is with MLB, you can't just skip picks as far as I know. You have to select for every single one here, even though I have my auto user for all of these teams that I don't plan on using. So to keep the process a little quicker, I will just be selecting the team that I want to use maybe after the fact. Or I could choose now based on my favorite mascot. And I'm not sure just yet. It's tough. I really do like a number of these. For some reason, I want to use the Denver Magic because you'll see that some of these teams are using the minor league stadiums, but others are keeping the major league stadiums in those areas. Some are actually using major league stadiums that aren't exactly in the area. Maybe the Virginia City Vigilantes will be playing out of the Atlanta Braves stadium. You'll see stuff like that, but it's more about the stadium and less the location in that regard. But the Denver Magic are still playing at Coors Field, and I think that would be fun to see what an AL team could do in Coors Field. And I do like their jerseys as well, so I think let's lock in, not beginner, let's lock in as the Denver Magic for the time being. So we will advance. We will set fantasy draft up. We will not allow legend free agents. I don't need computer roster control because I'm in charge of the rosters already. Designated hitter, of course, to auto. And the first overall pick is going to the Death Valley Vipers. And this is the only pick I'll make because it's pretty clear when I hit recommend player that Mike Trout, who was originally on, I guess the Kingsnakes replaced the Angels. And you're kind of getting a look at the jerseys already. I'll go through all 30 teams' rosters and you'll see them. Don't worry. But Mike Trout will be a Death Valley Viper right there. So I'm wondering where the Denver Magic select. They select 7th. That's a good little spot there. All right, we will simulate the draft. I got Jacob deGrom. All right, I don't know how I feel about that. I believe all 30 teams should have been set to auto. We'll just set that auto for now. And we'll go straight to the regular season. We will not wait around. It's interesting how they have me set up as Death Valley, maybe because they had the first pick. But, okay, first and foremost, I want to go over to my sliders, and I want to make sure that trade frequency is way down. Honestly, just on the first rung there, because during my tests of this, there were a ridiculous amount of trades right after the draft, so I want that to be lowered. It might not change anything, but we'll see. And then I'm going to lower injury frequency a bit. This is a league where, hopefully we don't have as many long-term injuries or issues with that because we want to see our best players play. So we will save these settings. I don't know. Yeah, sure. And there you go. So let's head over to the rosters for all 30 teams. Starting with, let's start by division. Let's go up to the Boston Goats, and we'll see what they are dealing with. So the Boston Goats have Walker Buehler heading their rotation, followed by Joe Musgrove, Randy Dobnak, Trevor Richards, and Corbin Martin. We will see a lot of prospects in here. I did pick a roster that has prospects up, and teams are going to use them in the MLB this year. That's going to be exciting to see. Not a lot of concerns about, service time and keeping players in the minors. These teams all want to win now. I know I see the current roster strategy for the Goats is rebuilding, but I do think we'll see a lot of this. So Corbin Martin will be in a major league rotation to start out this year, or an ultimate league rotation. We have Matt Barnes heading the bullpen here. Of course, Kenley Jansen will be the closer for the Goats. At catcher, we'll have another big prospect, Hebert Ruiz, followed by another young guy, Alex Jackson, backing him up. Edwin Encarnacion and Justin Smoke, 2 veteran first basemen. Jonathan Scope. Jose Ramirez is the big bat of this team, along with Renato Nunez backing him up. Xander Bogaerts will be staying in Boston as shortstop. Tommy Pham, the highest rated fielder or batter on this team, along with Chris Davis, providing some power, probably the designated hitter. Tommy Telshaw at center field, a contact and speedy player. Not that great in the field, but I'm sure that could develop as well. And then Jorge Soler. A lot of power on this team here in Boston, so that's exciting to see. Now we will move on to the Brooklyn Jefes, New York's representative in this league. Trevor Story seems to be their first pick, but Noah Syndergaard, the ace for the team, staying in New York. Dinelson Lamet, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He's the Padres' young pitcher who, I guess he is 27 now, but had a solid year last year. And Matthew Boyd, another breakout, but older than you'd think as well. Similar with Domingo Germán. And then Stephen Dawley, the 5th pitcher in this rotation. So an interesting group. I think that top 3 is going to do pretty well. Aroldis Vizcaíno is your top reliever. And the closer, actually, Reyes Maranta, not that great. We'll see how that works, but they do have a good starting rotation. Buster Posey, one of 4 catchers up in the majors right now. That's a little bit peculiar. Paul Goldschmidt, the sole first baseman. Maybe we'll see some of these catchers. Potentially Fegley or Vogt. No, secondary positions. Anyone? There you go. Stephen Vogt could play first base. And then we have Kevin Newman at second base for Brooklyn. Justin Turner, the big bat, at third. And, of course, Trevor Story, the highest-rated player on this team. He will be playing shortstop for Brooklyn. Great bat against lefties. Not so bad against right-handers either. We'll see. He's great in the field this year. The guy can do it all. We'll see how he does. And if not, they have 2 potential shortstops in the minor leagues. Wow, that's exciting for Brooklyn. Eloy Jimenez, speaking of potentials. That's a great bat to have. Not so great in the field, which might be why Brent Rooker is up as well. Tyler Naquin playing center field, and Brandon Nimmo in right for Brooklyn. I do, I'm taking my time with each team, but I do want to do a deep dive here. Not too concerned with how long, this video is. I could put some timestamps in for every team, and maybe I'll do that. Hopefully I remember to. Well, Miami Tropics, first of all. I love the color scheme. We had to go with that, the Miami Vice colorway, of course. You've seen that a lot in the NBA recently. But we've brought it to baseball, and they've brought an exciting team to Miami as well, headed by Ronald Acuna Jr. But let's see, pitching, Corey Kluber, who was recently traded to the Rangers in the MLB, but he'll be moving to Miami instead in this universe. Jake Odorizzi, John Means, Jake Arrieta, and then Kwang Hyun Kim will be the 5 pitchers. But you see Michael Kopech right there, staying in the minor leagues to start out with that A potential. That may be huge for Miami. The fact that he's the 6th ranked overall player or pitcher, that could have been in the rotation, but because he had 5 pitchers ahead of him, he still gets to develop a little more. That's great for Miami. Emilio Pagan, really the only solid setup man you could have here, or main reliever, other than Hector Neris, who will be the closer. Jorge Alfaro will be the main catcher. Always provides a bit of pop. Good contact bat as well this year. That's good for him. Rowdy Tellez. Interesting that he will be the only first baseman on the big league club right now. DJ LeMahieu and D. Gordon. Maybe they're thinking about playing LeMahieu at first and Gordon at second, but those are 2 great players there. Young Miguel Andujar, whose season was taken away by injury last year. I am a Yankees fan, so I'm excited to see what he can do this year. Him and Todd Frazier, former Yankee, will be at third base for Miami. Then Adalberto Raul Mondesi, so fast. Great in the field as well. Not a great bat, but he's only 24 and could certainly develop. We'll see what he can do. I remember him winning a lot of MVPs on MLB The Show 19. Kyle Schwarber, one of just 2 left fielders on this entire team. Luckily, he does have some favorable fielding stats, so I'm sure he'll be able to get it done there. A lot of center fielders, though. 3 on the big league club, including young Monty Harrison here. But Ronald Acuna is actually 2 years younger than Harrison, who's apparently listed as a top prospect in this league. Acuna is a great pick. Miami must have been picking high. We can check that back later. And he will be the guy spearheading whatever efforts this Miami team makes towards the playoffs. Finally, we have Yasiel Puig in right field. That's exciting. I like this team a lot. We'll see what Miami can do in the AL East. They'll be competing with the Montreal Royals, led by another young guy I see, Fernando Tatis. But let's go to the pitchers first. Excuse me. Sandy Alcantara. No pitchers above 80 overall in this rotation. So this team's got to get it done with the bats. Alex Wood is solid. We have Felix Pena. Eric Skoglund's playing in AAA. Nate Pearson, only 23, big prospect there. They're going to give him and Jordan Balazovic, I believe. I've just been seeing this guy's name recently. I don't know much about him just yet. I apologize for any mispronunciations or lack of knowledge about some of these guys, but this is actually an interesting rotation, more so than I thought about when first seeing it. A lot of youth here. So no one over 30. Wood and Pena are solid to get it done, but Alcantara coming off an all-star appearance, I guess. I must have forgotten or missed that. He pitched pretty well for, I wish I knew. I guess Miami. Don't know much about Alcantara, but I guess he was an all-star last year. That's awesome. And I do know more about Nate Pearson, who will be a stud prospect and player. We'll see how he develops here. Yusmeiro Petit, the main reliever, as well as Archie Bradley coming and closing. Didn't realize he was only 27, but looks like his ratings came down a little bit from where he used to be. He used to be a stud with the D-backs, and yeah, struggled in terms of whip maybe last year. We'll see what he can do here. I like him being the full closer. James McCann and Victor Caratini are your 2 catchers. Kevin Plawecki, another guy who has MLB experience. The 3 of them will be tasked with catching those pitchers I was just mentioning. Joey Votto. Hopefully he doesn't regress too quickly. If he does, Mike Ford's backing him up in AAA. But Votto will be a veteran presence, and I saw some other veterans on this team as well earlier. But young Cavan Biggio will be the main second baseman. Josh Fuentes at third. And there you go, Fernando Tatis Jr. at shortstop. Love that. But yeah, JD Martinez. Hopefully he's DHing. And I see Kyle Lewis there. Yeah, I'd probably rather have Kyle Lewis in the field than JD at DH. But that bat, especially against lefties, he's going to rake this year in Montreal. Byron Buxton, your center fielder, and then Michael Conforto, your right fielder. I was trying to rush a bit there. Conforto's solid. I really do like this outfield. You've got a lot of speed out of Buxton, just got to get him on base. And then Martinez and Conforto have the pop. So we'll see what this team can do. Like I said, they got to get it done with the bats. I don't love their rotation just yet. Meanwhile, I see Chris Sale and Mike Clevenger and Kenta Maeda, Marcus Stroman, and then Chris Bassett. What a rotation here in Virginia City. I didn't know Virginia City was a thing. I don't believe it really is, but that's the team name here for the Vigilantes, and I'm all for it. Joaquim Soria and John Brebbia, two solid relievers. Tyler Olson as well, Ryan Harper. And wow, Luis Calderon was their first pick at closer. He has a potential only 22, but he's only a 70 right now. This will be very interesting to see. I love their pitchers otherwise, and if Calderon develops quickly, this could be one of the best pitching staffs as a whole in the entire ULB. Salvador Perez, the main catcher, of course, a stud for that Royals World Series team a couple years back. Yuli Gurriel, not my favorite. As I mentioned, I'm a Yankees fan, not an Astros fan. But he'll be playing first base. Now, we're forgetting all about what happened in Houston in the MLB, because as you see, he actually has been playing for Portland in this universe. So nothing to do with the Houston Astros in this video. Robinson Cano will be your second baseman, still able to play the field well, get on base. Nick Solek, a younger second baseman, backing him up. And then Scott Kingery and Lucas Ursak, two young third basemen as well. And Javi Baez. I really like this Virginia City team as well. Javi Baez manning shortstop. What a glove he has. Great bat as well. Brian Reynolds keeping that theme of young players. That 99 contact versus righties is going to come in clutch. Jared Kelenic, a huge prospect here, only 20. He'll also get a chance to play this season. And then Julio Rodriguez, 19-year-old. So this is really interesting that they have a lot of great pitching on this team and a handful of great prospects, but no real veterans at some main positions. We'll see if they try to make trades to fix that. Now moving on to the AL Central with Nolan Arenado and Steven Strasburg leading the Akron Bolts. John Gray, the other solid pitcher in this rotation. Then again, youth here, but not a lot of experience. Griffin Canning, Robert Duggar, and Justice Sheffield. Three guys who definitely have good potential, but right now, how will they fare facing Ultimate League bats? We'll see what they can do. In relief, Andrew Miller and also Craig Stammen, two veterans who are pretty clutch, good pitchers. They can shut it down, and so can Brad Hand at closer. I like that. That's a good trio in the pen. Yasmani Grandal, a great catcher, a lot of pop in his bat. Max Muncy, Starlin Castro, interesting. Arenado, of course, Asdrubal Cabrera there, and then also Lurie Garcia is an 81, backing up Castro and might be playing elsewhere. And Marcus Semien, wow, a lot of good infielders on this team. Let's see if their outfield looks the same. I don't hate Domingo Santana. He's not the best in the field, but should get it done at the plate. Brett Gardner, the veteran, and also Brian Goodwin, so two solid center field options. And then Franmil Reyes, who has a great bat, but I'd say maybe put him at DH. See if Goodwin maybe could play right field. Of course, he has that in his secondary position. So let's see what they can do. Akron has a solid team that could compete now. It's just, can the rotation get it done after Strasburg and Gray are done, with their matchup. So I'm excited, of course, to see all these teams do, including the Chicago Irish, who picked Garrett Cole in the first round, along with Shane Bieber, Hugh Darvish, Dallas Keuchel, and Max Fried. This is a very solid rotation. Fried has that A potential, as does Bieber. Meanwhile, Darvish and Keuchel already up there pretty well, and Garrett Cole, of course, one of, if not the best pitcher in the major leagues right now. The Ultimate League, we'll see if that's true here too. Chris Martin, the best reliever, and then Giovanni Gallegos will be the closer. Mike Zunino at catcher. Josh Naylor, a young guy playing first base. We'll see what he can do. Mike Moustakas might be playing first base in this one, or Wilmer Flores, two guys who know how to play over there. And we'll see where they're tasked with playing for the Irish. Hunter Dozier at third base was good with Kansas City last year. And then Corey Seager definitely has taken a bit of a ratings drop in the past couple seasons, but a lot of options here. Jose Iglesias, great in the field, but not a great arm this year. Freddie Galvis. And then you also have Bryce Turang and Wander Javier. A lot of options at short. In left, Adam Duvall with Lazaro Armenteros in the minors, waiting for his opportunity. Luis Robert, I think it's Luis Robert. Chicago loves him, and he will be staying at Chicago and will give them a chance to see what he can do in the Ultimate League. And then Nick Markakis will be starting in right. Jorge Bonifacio will be developing behind him. Interesting team there. And, I mean, all of them are interesting, of course. I'm very excited to see who does well, who struggles. We've got Indiana here. And let's see what the Spartans have. Charlie Morton, the ace, you could say, on this team with Sonny Gray, Robbie Ray, Jose Urena, and Nathan Eovaldi, excuse me. Getting carried away there with the rhymes, but that's a solid rotation. We've got in relief Dylan Floro, and then Roberto Osuna will be the main closer. Jacob Stallings, your main catcher, but Davy Grullon, again, struggling with pronunciation. Haven't heard of him, but I can say that he looks very close to taking over Stallings' starting position if he just develops a little bit more this season. Carlos Santana, a great bat to have at first base. Brendan Rodgers, still only 22. I feel like he's been around a while as a prospect, but he's getting there, and he's ready to start according to Indiana. We'll see him there, as well as Cody Hose, I'll say. I mean, again, a lot of these teams are going to give young guys the opportunity to play now and prove themselves now instead of waiting to develop them. I'm excited to see what that means for guys like him right here. Bo Bichette, who of course did get a chance to play last year, but kind of follows that same mold. Jazz Chisholm waiting behind him and will not have to play just yet, but Bichette, coming off of his rookie campaign with Toronto, didn't play the entire season, if I remember correctly. Yeah, just 46 games in the MLB, but now we'll see how many he can play and how well he can do in the ULB. David Peralta, I love David Peralta. He's going to be a big bat for Indiana, getting on base pretty well, especially against righties. Victor Robles, a very exciting center fielder. And then Ricky Doyle, and Harold Ramirez in right. Don't know what to think of them so far. I think it's just a lot of youth that needs to develop, but Indiana has a bright future. Meanwhile, we move to the Pittsburgh Paladins. Jose Altuve leading this team, who seems to need some depth at pitcher. We have James Paxton and German Marquez. But the issue is Tyler Chatwood, now only a 73. Josiah Gray developing still. We'll see what he can do. And Jake Faria at 25 years old, only a 70. So you might need guys like Luis Patino to develop a little quicker. We'll see if they can do so. Josh Taylor, Robert Stevenson there. Liam Hendricks, a shutdown closer. Good guy to have, especially with a young rotation like we just saw. Speaking of youth, Bo Naylor will be starting behind the plate at only 19 years old. Pete Alonso, the Rookie of the Year last year, and he has a crazy power bat. 99s on both sides of the plate. We'll see if he can retain the home run crown. Jesus Aguilar backing him up there. Like we said, Jose Altuve, so someone who Alonso will have a chance to bat in a lot, hopefully. Odell Hammond's another young third baseman. It's interesting to see a lot of these teams seem to lack depth at the hot corner here. Miguel Rojas and Bryson Stott at short. Andrew Benintendi in left. Greg Allen and Ian Happ playing center. And Eric Thames and Aristides Aquino, who had a hot start to his career with Cincinnati in the MLB. And we'll see if he can get that going here as well. Okay, now Texas, the Outlaws. Eugenio Suarez, I always mess up his name, but I do know Suarez has a crazy bat as well, but we'll get to him in a sec. Mike Soroka, the young guy, is going to be tasked with being the ace of this rotation. Matt Shoemaker, Carlos Rodon, J.A. Happ, Julio Teheran. So all guys with MLB experience, Rick Porcello as well. And then I do see Sixto Sanchez, Chris Bubic, I think, all of them, that's an interesting rotation because it's not bad now, and it could be a lot better down the road. So Ken Giles will be your closer. Yadier Molina, the veteran, will be catching those young guys. Anthony Rizzo at first. Jahmai Jones at second. Eugenio Suarez, like I was talking about, and Alec Boehm, another prospect who will be playing third base in this league, but he will be backing up Suarez, which is good for him. Ahmed Rosario and Aledmus Diaz, and for some reason Ernie Clement is on the Major League roster. Donovan Casey in left, another young guy, Chris Taylor, and like I said, Riley Green. They're really trying out these prospects. I guess they must have impressed in spring training. And then Hunter Renfroe will be playing in right. So now over to the AL West. Clayton Kershaw and Francisco Lindor. I see 4 All-Stars on this team. Let's get to them. Kershaw and Giolito will be heading this rotation for the Kingsnakes. Jeff Samardzija, Aaron Savall, and Daniel Norris. I like that rotation a lot. Carl Edwards Jr. will be the main reliever. And Edwin Diaz, who did struggle with the Mets last year, we'll see if he can bounce back here. Still has that A potential. Jake Rogers and Shea Langeliers. 2 young catchers. 2 great potential players. Just got to see who develops first and is able to, take that starting spot from the other. Or maybe they play together and they platoon or something. I'm not sure. Maybe one's a lefty, one's a righty. I'm sure both are going to be righties, yep. But we'll see. Jake Rogers right now will probably be the starter. Josh Bell starting at first and Eric Hosmer starting in AAA. That's tough for him, but Bell will probably light it up like he has been doing in Pittsburgh in the MLB. Cesar Hernandez, Jason Kipnis, and Kevin Kramer all at second. J.D. Davis at third. And Lindor, like we said, at short. Only one other shortstop drafted to this organization. Very interesting there, but hopefully with those injuries turned down, Lindor will not have to be replaced by a minor leaguer, and he can just keep playing all 162. We'll see. Kike Hernandez in left, Victor Reyes in center, and Jordan Luplow in right. So very solid team here, headed, of course, by those 4 All-Stars. We'll see if the team around them can get it done. Jack Flaherty, the main pitcher on the Coronado Thunderbirds. Julio Urias. I think it's Urias. He's been around for a while as a prospect, finally developing, still has that A potential. He will be an ace in this league with Jack Flaherty. That's a deadly 1-2. And Zach Wheeler's a great pitcher as well. So Joey Lucchesi looking pretty good. And then Derek Rodriguez, son of Pudge, there as the 5th. So I like that a lot. At reliever, Scott Alexander, Cameron Bedrosian, and then Brandon Workman will be the closer. Craig Kimbrell, interesting seeing him in the minor leagues. Gary Sanchez at catcher with Austin Nola behind him. Daniel Murphy at first with Ji-Man Choi. David Fletcher and Dustin Pedroia, interesting. Gio Urshela at third. Do they have a weak position? Tim Anderson at short. Okay, excuse me. Josh Rojas at left field, not great. Oscar Mercado, young center fielder, lit up the Indians last year. And then Kyle Tucker. So a lot of youth in the outfield. Otherwise, really solid at pretty much every position. Let's see what they can do. I like this team. All right, the Denver Magic. This is the team I said I would maybe play as a little bit. Obviously, it's more about seeing the league as a whole and watching what happens in the ULB, not just about my team. This is not a 1-team series. This is a 30-team series. Jacob deGrom, Johnny Cueto, Frankie Montas, Yanni Chirinos, and Marco Gonzalez. 5 very solid pitchers. I like that. And in terms of prospects, no one under 23. I did go pretty quick there, but it's a lot of guys who could maybe make the majors, but I wouldn't bank on any of them. Even Tony Gonsolin, I believe. I'm not exactly sure how to say his name, but I wouldn't even trust him there. Just got to stick with these starting 5 here. Wander Suero. I see Jeremy Jeffers really took a rating drop as well. And at closer, young 21-year-old Rob Montano. Okay. Tom Murphy, the catcher, with Manny Pena backing him up. Miguel Sano, a lot of pop at first base. I do like that. The young Gavin Lux at second base. That's exciting with Hernan Perez backing him up. Bobby Dalbec will not be playing. The 19-year-old Earl Fisher instead will. That's crazy. Probably the youngest third baseman we've seen yet who's unproven. I know we saw someone who was 19 earlier. Willie Adames and Elvis Andrus both at short. Maybe one could move to third base. I'm thinking Adames could. He's got 99 arm strength for a reason. Sean Snowden and Tyler O'Neill are the left fielders, with Ramon Laureano and Jackie Bradley Jr. Talk about two great gloves in center. And then Avi Garcia in right. So I like this team. I think there's something that could happen with it. But again, we just got to focus on all of the teams right now, not just the one that I chose before the draft. Speaking of young guys, Juan Soto leading this team. But what about pitchers? We got Chris Paddock and Masa Tanaka. And then Davy Garcia. For Yankee fans like me, I am excited to see if he gets called up this year once the league starts back up. But I don't have to wait to see what he'd do against some of these ULB bats. He will be up in the majors for the Gamblers, as will Jesus Luzardo, and then Logan Webb. So a lot of young pitching prospects for Las Vegas. Sir Anthony Dominguez will be serving as setup man for Nick Anderson. Then catcher Roberto Perez and Austin Romine. Luke Voigt at first base. Brandon Lau and Brian Dozier at second. Brian Anderson at third. A lot of Bryans. Nico Goodrum will be sharing time with Orlando Arcia at short. Interesting to see who wins that position battle. Juan Soto, like we mentioned, your starting left fielder. Lorenzo Cain and Kevin Pillar. Kevin Pillar's, excuse me, talking a lot here. Kevin Pillar's fielding ratings seem to have gone down a bit further than I'd expect them to have, but you've got Lorenzo Cain who still can really cover out there. We'll see who's playing the main minutes for them out there. Jason Hayward, your right fielder. Another interesting team. And then get into the Portland Squatch, the Sasquatch here. Carlos Carrasco, Lance Lynn, Shohei Ohtani will be a pitcher in this league. Drew Smiley and Mitch Keller will be getting that fifth spot over Homer Bailey. Like I said, these teams don't care about service time. They want to see their best players play now. Tommy Kahnle and Trevor May, two solid guys in the bullpen, and then Clyde Booker, 21-year-old closer. JT Realmuto, your main catcher, but they have Omar Narvaez and Brian O'Keefe backing him up. Yoshi Tsutsugo, we've got the rookie here from Japan who looks ready to mash for Portland. Adam Frazier at second, Carter Kieboom, the prospect, at third, Jorge Polanco and Jeter Downs both playing short. Andrew McCutcheon in left, Adam Eaton, Harrison Bader, and Billy Hamilton all in center. Three guys who can do three different things: a great fielder, a great runner, and then Eaton, a very solid contact bat. Bryce Harper, of course, the right fielder. He'll be getting... Oh, he's teamed up with JT Realmuto again. That's great. So Harper will be selling the tickets for Portland as they have a baseball team now. And we move to the National League. The Annapolis Sailors. They're wearing yellow at home. I forgot about that decision. And we're going with it. So Mookie Betts is on this team. Blake Snell, Trevor Bauer, Luis Severino. Wow, so three great starting pitchers there. Followed by Shun Yamaguchi and Danny Duffy. Will Harris, a great reliever to have, as is Will Smith. Travis d'Arnaud catching, as well as Will Smith, the catcher. Wow, that's kind of wild. You've got both Will Smiths end up on the same team. They'll both be in Annapolis to start the season. Travis Shaw at first. Jose Peraza, at second. Eduardo Escobar at third. Greg Jones, young guy playing shortstop. Mark Payton in left. Delino DeShields and Albert Armora, two juniors in center. And then Mookie Betts, as well as Stephen Piscotty, still wearing the green and yellow. I like that. And now we move to Carolina and the Wildcats. Kyle Hendricks, Francis Martez, Jimmy Nelson, Zach Davies, Jace Vines. Not a bad rotation. Hendricks going to be carrying the load as ace. However, Kirby Yates, great closer to have. Tucker Barnhart catching him. Garrett Cooper at first. McNeil at second. Great bat there. Matt Chapman. This guy is a stud both at the plate and in the field. We'll see if his 99 fielding helps out this team, and I'm sure it will. Nick Ahmed at short. David Dahl, great bat now in left field. Starling Marte, similarly, playing center. And then Austin Slater, your right fielder. Next up, the Jacksonville Palms. Chris Bryant, the main player here, probably the first-round pick, but we'll start with the pitching, and this has to be the worst rotation we've seen so far for now. Of course, I do see some good potential there, but Ryan Borucki, Felix Hernandez, not the ace he used to be. Jose Lopez, Jake Junis, and then I guess Tariq Skubal will be the 5th starter. 23-year-old, makes sense that he'll get the spot over Simeon Woods-Richardson, who will be developing in the minors. Aaron Bummer, the main reliever, as well as David Robertson taking over closing duties. Mitch Garver, a great bat at catcher. See if he can do it in the field as well. I'm sure he can. If not, you've got Reese McGuire, but wow, we'll see what he can do there. Jose Abreu and CJ Crone at first. A lot of pop between those two bats. Colton Wong at second. Chris Bryant, like we mentioned, at third. And Gleyber Torres at short. I really like that infield. Now in left with Austin Meadows. Center with George Springer. And right with Nomar Mazara. Clearly, this team invested in the bats. What does that mean for their short-term success, however? Because let's see where the top pitcher ranks. Top starter, that is. Looks like about 15th, if I did that correctly in my head. Ryan Barucki. We'll see how that works out. Speaking of pitching, starting for the New Orleans Crusaders is Garrett Richards, Gio Gonzalez, Brad Keller, Kevin Gossman, and Sean Newcomb. Brent Honeywell, a great prospect there. Gilberto Urizari. If he comes up to the bigs, I'll try to learn that pronunciation a bit better. Ryan Presley and Joe Smith, 2 great relievers, and Jose Leclerc, a solid closer, so I like that. Sam Huff and Chadwick Trump are 2 young catchers. Nate Lowe at first, not a great rating for him. Ronette Odor at second. We'll have Bregman and Drury playing third. Trey Turner at short. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. and Mike Talkman, 2 solid left fielders. Kevin Kiermaier and Jared Dyson in center, and Max Kepler in right. They have 5 very good outfielders. It's interesting that they picked those over maybe a better catcher, a better first baseman. We'll see how their lineups look, but it is really interesting to see how every team drafted. Some didn't think about just rounding out their lineups for this year. It's more about just getting the best value now. Or in the long run. Just the best value at their pick is what I meant to say. But anyway, DC Eagles here. We've got Justin Verlander, Sean Manaea, Eric Lauer, Mike Leake, and Mackenzie Gore. I'm excited to see him in the bigs. A solid rotation at the top 2. We'll see if Lauer, Leake, and Gore can get it done now. If not, Lauer and Gore will definitely be progressing into better players. Darren O'Day, Adam Ottavino, and Taylor Rogers. Great bullpen there. We have another 19-year-old, Roger Alfonso, will be starting over Spencer Kieboom. Ryan Healy at first, Yolmer Sanchez at second, Vlad Jr. at third, 75 overall. Marwin Gonzalez and Dansby Swanson at short with Jorge Mateo. Interesting, he will be in the bigs this year. Michael Brantley, your starting left fielder. Kyle Isbell in center, Lewis Brinson not getting that spot. And then Aaron Judge in right field, of course. Very exciting here for DC. They will be playing in the National Stadium. And like I mentioned, a couple others who are from the same area as Major League teams will be in that stadium. But others, going to a new spot. We'll see that with the first games when they start up. Manny Machado, the number 1 pick most likely for the Erie Dragons. Aaron Nola and Brandon Woodruff and Miles Michaelis, 3 very solid pitchers there. Daniel Mengden and Steven Matz not getting the 5th spot. It'll go to young Brendan McKay, who's another 2-way guy. Was given decent batting ratings this year, but we'll see him mainly as a pitcher. Dellin Betances, hate to see him go from the Yankees in real life, and he'll be pitching for the Erie Dragons here. Keone Kela, the main closer. At catcher, Jason Castro and Russell Martin. Ryan Zimmerman, the vet, playing first base along with Ryan McMahon. Luis Arias at second, that 99 contact versus righty, I saw it. Manny Machado at third. Addie Russell and Bobby Witt Jr. getting the call. Interesting. I would definitely want him to develop more, but he'll be backing up Addison Russell to start the season. Chad Pinder in left, Jake Cave in center, Charlie Blackmon in right, and Joe Adell waiting in the wings to be a starter soon for them. Now over to the Milwaukee Meerkats, another team I think could get some fans, be a fan favorite potentially. They've got Eduardo Rodriguez heading their rotation, Zach Gallen, Adrian Hauser, Devin Smeltzer, and Forrest Whitley, the prospect who I believe is with Houston in real life, will be pitching already in this league here. Alec Mills, Aroldis Chapman closing for them. Alex Avila and Danny Jansen behind the plate. Matt Olson at first, a lot of pop there. Jed Lowry, Nick Senzel, and Greg Garcia. Anthony Rendon, their first rounder. Abiatal Avellino at short with Royce Lewis, another top pick in real life. We'll be backing him up currently in the minors. Matt Joyce and Taylor Trammell in left. Ian Miller and Kristen Pichet, or Pash, I'm not sure yet how to say his name, but a top prospect from Atlanta in real life. He'll be potentially starting some games here, competing with Ian Miller. It looks like Miller's a bit better at everything right now, but I'm sure Christian will get some playing time. Gregory Polanco, the right field starter for Milwaukee. Now over to the Nashville Blue Jeans. I mean, how can you not love that mascot? And I like the top of this rotation too with Max Scherzer. He'll be joined by Jordan Montgomery, former top pick Casey Mize, Dustin May, and Josh James. So two really exciting young pitchers here that will probably turn into aces in their own right. And then Josh James backing up this rotation at fifth spot. Jordan Montgomery will give you some solid starts as well. If Scherzer can hang around in the 90s, already starting the season off as a 99, this rotation is going to be scary by the end of this season and certainly by the start of next season. Tyler Duffy and Broderick Cruz, the closer here. Kurt Suzuki and Robinson Chirinos at catcher. Dominic Smith at first. Whit Merrifield at second. David Bodie at third. Brandon Crawford starting at short with Nicky Lopez and Wander Samuel Franco, a 18-year-old player, will be in the ULB. That's exciting. We've got Giancarlo Stanton backed up by Ben Ruda, not by Justin Upton for some reason. And neither is Gorkys Hernandez going to even start. It'll be, I forget. Is that Thomas Williams? I do forget what his first hyphenated last name is, but Dom Williams will be the center field starter. Corbin Carroll, an exciting prospect behind him there. And Nelson Cruz, hopefully his bat doesn't deteriorate too much throughout this season, but a great starting spot. He'll be hitting some homers. I would just rather him be, he can't DH. This is the National League now. So we'll see what he can do in right field this year. Interesting team in Nashville. All right, now we move to the North Dakota Nightmare, NDN. Hyunjin Ryu, David Price, John Lester, three veteran pitchers with solid ratings now. Hopefully they can hold up throughout the season. Pablo Lopez and Freddie Peralta at the 4 and 5. Tony Watson's your closer, not great. Maybe I'll do some manual editing for some of these teams and just give them their best overall reliever at closer, but I'll let them figure it out for the time being. Wilson Contreras, the starting catcher. They have three on the team, Tony Wolters and Austin Allen. Ryan Braun at first. Ozzie Albies at second with Profar backing him up. Josh Donaldson and Tommy La Stella at third. Paul DeYoung at short. Marcel Ozuna and Anthony Santander. At left, I did see my guy Clint Frazier there. Only a 68 this year. It's kind of a tough rating. Manny Margot in center. And Josh Reddick at right field. Now we move on to the final team in the NL Central, the St. Louis Aeros, or Archers, excuse me. I got to work on some of the mascots myself. I've been pretty good, but they have two solid bats I see there. But we'll start with the pitching as always. Mad Bum at the top with Mike Minor, Carlos Martinez, Anthony DeSclafani, and Trent Thornton. So they're keeping Nick Lodolo down. Smart call there. I think their rotation should be able to get it done for the time being. Shane Green in relief, as well as Corey Knebel. Adley Clutchman-Rutschman at catcher. Exciting to see that as Cal Raleigh backs him up. Freddie Freeman, the big bat, at first. Ketel Marte, their first-round pick, at second. Jonathan Villar and Kyle Seager at third. And Didi Gregorius at short. Love this infield. Eddie Rosario and Corey Dickerson in the outfield. Juan Lagares in center. Cole Calhoun in right. I like this team a lot. I do think St. Louis has something going. We'll see what they can do. And finally, some exciting teams here, starting with the Polar Bears. How can you not love an Alaska baseball team? Tyler Glasnow, Jameson Taillon, Jose Quintana, Trevor Williams, and Jordan Yamamoto. Very solid rotation there. David Hernandez, Sean Doolittle at closer, Jan Gomes and Austin Barnes, Rhys Hoskins at first, Eugene Segura at second, Rafael Devers at third. I like that. Interesting. CJ Abrams will be starting in this league at shortstop. Jack Peterson in left with Pablo Reyes backing him up. I love Seth Beer. I've got a Clemson Seth Beer jersey back on this chair, actually. Maybe I'll break that out if I start doing any face cams here. Aaron Hicks in center and Joey Gallo in right. I really want to see this team do well. I don't know why I didn't think about picking them as my user-controlled team, actually. All right, we've moved to Albuquerque with the Mariachis del Nuevo Mexico. Luis Castillo, the ace of this team, with Matt Andres, Luke Weaver, Caleb Smith, and Michael Waka, who's down to a 68? That's tough. Probably Tuki Toussaint will soon take his spot, but for the time being, Waka will be their fifth starter. Jordan Hicks at closer, only a 74 this year as well, but trust me, his rating will go up with that A potential and that 99 velocity already. That's an exciting closer to have. Christian Vasquez and Kurt Casale behind the plate. Andrew Vaughn, top prospect, will be starting for this team. Similarly, Elvis Vizcaíno and Nick Madrigal is already on the roster, Scooter Gennett as well. Austin Riley at third, Carlos Correa at short with Nico Horner backing him up. Jordan Alvarez, their top pick, great bat there. Let's see if he can do it in the field though. Yoenis Cespedes backing him up. Bradley Zimmer and Cameron Maybin in center, and Mitch Haniger in right. Definitely the theme of this team is youth, especially in the field. But their ace Luis Castillo, pretty young as well at 27. All right, so they're probably a long-term squad. Mike Trout, of course, the number 1 overall pick. He went to the Death Valley Vipers, the National League's Snakes team. Jose Barrios, Lance McCullers, Andrew Heaney, Ryan Yarborough, Tanner Rourke. This is one of the most, if not the most well-rounded rotation we have in this league. Yes, Barrios not the highest rated ace yet, but that A potential only being 25, he could certainly reach the 90s if that's not guaranteed. Chad Green, a very solid reliever, and Josh Hader, one of the better closers. Tyler Flowers, Francisco Mejia, and Garrett Stubbs all behind the dish. Nick Prado, a very young first baseman. It's possible that one of these guys, maybe Flowers even, could be your first baseman and have Mejia behind the dish. Keston Hiura, great bat at second base, another young guy. Evan Longoria and Colin Moran at third. Cole Tucker and Nick Gordon playing short. Mark Canha in left with Daniel Palka backing him up. Mike Trout, of course, and Jose Martinez. So this team's definitely missing something on offense. Of course, Mike Trout, like we've seen in the Angels and the MLB, he can't be the sole source of runs, but I love what they've got pitching-wise. Let's see if some of those young bats can contribute and Mike Trout can finally make a playoffs run. We move to Hawaii now with Christian Yelich. Wow, okay. Rich Hill, Zach Godley, Edison Volquez, Mike Montgomery's not even in the rotation. It's Alek Manoah and Jose Urquidy. I remember him from the World Series last year. I think I'm just kind of losing it 48 minutes into recording here, but we're almost done. We're almost there. Thank you guys for sticking with us if you did, or using those timestamps that I hopefully put in the description. But okay, so there's your rotation. We've got definitely some oldies on this team. Just got to hope that Rich Hill, Volquez, those two can stick, near their current production and current ratings. Similarly, Oliver Perez and Mark Melancon. Wow. Brandon Morrow, same thing here. So Hawaii splashed on some veteran pitchers here. Wilson Ramos is old as well. Martin Maldonado. I'm just looking at the age column right now. We do have Carson Kelly, Christian Walker, and Brandon Belt. Howie Kendrick at second. I mean, of course, that contact's great, but 36. Matt Carpenter's 34. Yohan Moncada, however, he'll be around for a while. Andrelton Simmons, great, if not the best fielder, maybe in the major leagues, not even just at short. Christian Yelich and A.J. Pollock in left. Can't get better than that. Corey Ray not yet starting. Instead, Jason Dominguez, 17 years old. Real-life Yankees prospect. There's your youngest player in the league. Wow. exciting there. And then Alex Verdugo in right. Wow. Okay. Hawaii's got a lot going on there with age, and I love it. I'm excited about that, and we'll see what they can do. But finally, the final team in this league, Vancouver Aeros, Zach Greinke, Patrick Corbin, Cole Hamels, Chris Archer, Dylan Cease. So 4 very solid pitchers. Cease has great potential, as does Spencer Howard. We'll see if either of those can become a mainstay at that 4th spot in the rotation. Greinke and Hamels, I mean, all 4 of those top pitchers, 30 years or older. Again, we'll have to see what they can do. Seth Lugo, the main reliever here, and Robbie Crockett, your closer. Zach Collins and Webster Rivas behind the plate. Miguel Cabrera and Mitch Moreland, 2 older guys there, but Dan Vogelbach as well. Ben Zobrist, Brad Miller, Michael Chavis at 3rd. 17 again. Wow. Robert Poisson, I haven't heard of him yet. Seems like I should have. Wow, a 17-year-old who's 71 overall already. He'll be starting at shortstop. That's exciting. Because I don't think Dominguez is starting, but that guy, Poisson, is. Just as interestingly, Nick Castellanos is the only left fielder picked to this organization. Cody Bellinger, Shogo Akiyama from, I believe, Japan. Yes, 31 already. We'll see what he can do. And Trey Mancini. So another interesting team to round it out, as we've seen pretty much all over the place, but all over the league. 30 teams. It's a lot of talking, a lot to cover, and we haven't even advanced a day yet. Finally, I'm going to just scroll through every team's rank in the top right corner there that deals with overall ratings in terms of speed, contact, power, pitching, and defense. The Tropics are 6th overall, so Miami really does have something exciting there. They'll kill you with contact and speed, I guess, or just batting as a whole. Royals going to struggle a bit, but they have good contact. The problem is their pitching. 3rd overall in the league are the Jefes. That's a great offense. They're not concerned about speed. They can get 90 feet at a time if they're hitting balls into the gap, or as long as it's base hits, I guess. Pitching's not too bad either in Brooklyn. Speaking of great pitching and great speed, we've got Virginia City ranking 2nd in both of those categories, but only 14th as a whole. And then the Goats at 15th. They'll be hitting with a lot of power against those good rotations we talked about. Not really any bad. Yeah, I guess the Royals are pretty bad, but 4 teams that will be competing for the crown in the AL East. Should be an exciting division. Texas Outlaws ranked 23rd out of 30. Not great really at anything. Defense, I mean, I guess that's big. I'd say it's the least valuable. No, the speed's least valuable. Defense is just as valuable as pitching, you could say. But, we'll see if that defense can help out with the pitching that's ranked 23rd out of 30. The Irish, speaking of good pitching now, the best rotation in the entire league. 10th in power as well, so they'll get you some runs. Really struggle with defense and with speed, but 9th overall because they think that pitching and power can really help them. But they'll be dealing with the Akron Bolts, who have been ranked 1st overall in this league. Not great at pitching. I mean, I guess defense, power, contact, they're ranking pretty high in those 3 categories. I don't know. I guess they are the best team in the league. We'll see if that holds true. Meanwhile, they'll be playing against the worst team in the league, apparently. Pittsburgh Paladins only have speed on their side. They're definitely rebuilding, definitely looking to the youth. And then the Indiana Spartans in 22nd. So this is going to be a struggling division. 3 teams in the bottom 10 and then 2 in the top 10, including apparently the best team in the league in Akron. The second best team in the league is Portland, and they can do it all except hit for power. This is a team I expect to do well. Yes, I know the modern baseball, you need to hit for power maybe, but small ball and pitching, Sasquatch could do that. We'll see how well they do with that strategy. Thunderbirds as well don't really hit for power, but they're missing the speed and the pitching that really propels the Sasquatch up to 2nd. Thunderbirds in 18th. The Gamblers in 10th, and they're gambling in the fact that they have the 3rd worst pitching in the entire league. However, solid, league average at both contact and power, but 2nd in defense. Again, we'll see if that can help them with their poor pitching. The Kingsnakes at 21st, they just have no bats apparently and no fielding. They're going to have to rely on just pitching. That's not going to go too well. And then Denver Magic, this is the team I said I would control. They're ranking around the bottom half, but not too bad. Great power, speed, and defense. league average pitching and below average contact. It's not terrible. There's something to work with there. Now we move to the NL. Starting with the East, the Annapolis Sailors. Wow, they are terrible at the plate, but still ranked 13th because they have some incredible pitching. Meanwhile, the Palms are the exact opposite. If not the best bats, but the worst pitching. This is going to be exciting to see. How do these two strategies work against each other? Because they both rank about average, in the middle of the league in terms of overall rank. That'll be interesting. Comment below if you think the Sailors or Palms will be better. And just to tell me you made it 55 minutes into this video. Great job. Crusaders, they can't hit or pitch apparently. Well, that's not true. They're near the middle for both, I guess. It's the speed and defense that propel them to 8th over both of these teams? Okay, all right, whatever. The Eagles of DC, shockingly second worst power despite having Aaron Judge on the team. I guess that's the only source of power on that squad. Good pitching though, but it's not that great. Only 20th, and the Wildcats in 17th. Great contact and great defense, but power and pitching definitely missing. Every team in here seems to be missing something. I don't expect the Crusaders to be the best of the division, however. We'll see if New Orleans proves me wrong. In the NL Central, you got the St. Louis Archers ranking 5th. They have, pretty solid everything. I can't really complain about any of these ranks. Blue Jeans, however, not so hot. They'll be near the bottom of the league according to this. The Dragons of Erie, 29th in speed. That's not a problem if you had something else going for you, but they really just have top 10 pitching, and that's it. Not so great from them. And the Meerkats, also not so great. It looks like this division might belong to the North Dakota Nightmare, who, similarly to I believe it was the Jefes, don't really have the speed, but they've got great bats otherwise. Not so great with pitching, but the game still believes that this team is ranked 4th, despite, I don't know, despite not being ranked in the top 4 in any category. All right, we'll stick with that, I guess. I'd say the Archers look a bit more well-rounded. It seems like the Archers and Nightmare will battle for this division, and the other 3 will just look to the future. Finally, in the NL West, the Vipers are pretty solid in everything but defense, and I guess I might have said that defense is the least valuable, and that is completely wrong according to this, because defense is the only thing they lack, and it brings them to 4th worst in the league. So I don't know if that rating's going to be true when you look at standings, but the Death Valley Vipers, I remember being excited by the roster. I think they'll do better than 4th worst. The Polar Bears, great defense, great power, no contact, ranking 11th. That'll be really interesting to see. Can power and pitching, and defense as well propel this team? It probably could. They just need to get players on base so they can score more than 1 run at a time. Vancouver Aeros, looking great with pitching, power, and contact. Defense and speed holding them back a bit as well. This is a loaded division, I can already tell. Mariachi's going to struggle within it. If you have the 4th worst pitching and you're, pitching to those bats that we just mentioned, you're going to have a tough time. So Albuquerque might be looking to the future as well. And then finally, the Splash. Great defense and great contact. I did not like their rotation. They're worse in speed. Still ranked 7th. This is going to be maybe the most interesting division to watch. Because who comes out of this on top? I have no idea. Who comes out of this entire experiment, this entire league on top for the first season? Really not sure. But I'm excited to see what you guys think. Real quick, we'll finish with the top prospects, because a lot of these guys are in the MLB already. Bobby Witt at the top. Gavin Lux of my Denver Magic at number 2. Adley Rutschman, Wander Samuel Franco, C.J. Abrams, Luis Robert. Corbin Carroll's the best prospect not starting off in the bigs. He's a 67 overall and A potential. And only 19 years old. Solid ratings to start out. Great at running. Great in the field. Just looking for that contact and power. Needs to work on the bat a little bit more before he gets that opportunity. The 3rd Nashville Blue Jeans player in the top 10, Casey Mize, 22 years old, I believe already 76. Very solid. Carter Kiaboon, and then Daniel Espino, also from, he's from Brooklyn, who was my team during my test run of this. Never mind, I thought I had 2 top 10 prospects. I do not. JJ Bleday, another guy who's in the minors currently. But look at this. I mean, a lot of youth, and you can see on the right most of these guys will be starting in the bigs. Now around this bottom half of the list, you see more AAA, but even guys like Odell Hammonds, who, 67 overall. I mean, he's got a decent bat. I mean, just barely better at contact than Corbin Carroll is. I mean, I don't know how I feel about Hammonds. We'll see what he can do. Of course, I'm excited to see how everybody does in this experiment. There's Robert Poisson, who I need to look up. But a 71 overall at 17 years old at shortstop, I think he'd be ranked higher than 45. I think he'll probably prove this list wrong in that. And there's your top 50 prospects. We've gone through all the teams. We've hit an hour of video. Thank you guys so much for watching all of it. And, next up, we'll play some games. I'll hop into some of these. I will, give you my best play-by-play commentary. I've got some experience doing some real games, so I'm sure this can't be too much tougher. And we get to watch a pretty cool universe, a brand new league, and it's going to be so much fun, guys. I can't wait. I'm just scrolling real quick through every team's first couple games here at the end of March. Coronado, Arizona. Got a lot of fun ahead of us. Maybe I'll play a Denver game and then spectate a couple others and make a bit of a compilation for you guys. This was a live commentary. Hopefully it sounded okay. I was using my computer microphone. I meant to use my podcast microphone, but didn't get to it. But yeah, I've got a lot on the way, and we've built this finally. It's been a project of mine for the past couple of days. But with all this free time, freed me up for the potential to do something like this, and I'm so excited that I did. So thank you guys for joining us for this. There's the end of the March schedules, and I will be back very soon with the first bit of gameplay from the Ultimate League Baseball. Thanks, guys, and have a great day.